like to go to the gym. Maybe it helps you start your day off well or end it feeling accomplished. Well, maybe you want to just become one of the next bodybuilders, be a champion in that way. That could be pretty cool. Well, in the same way, many young agriculturalists go to barns across the United States in order to coach on next year's bodybuilding champion. Only the competitors they work with have 4 legs instead of 2. I'd like to share with you how young exhibitors prepare for contests in the same way that bodybuilders prepare for their next competition, by assessing their starting point, maintaining a technical feeding and training schedule, and finessing their ring appearance. Showmen compete for the gold. But competition is a long way off. So how do they begin? Well, we need to assess our starting point, and to do that we look at 2 different things. We're going to assess the structural soundness of our animal and their initial musculature. When looking at structural soundness, we're going to be evaluating and seeing if the animal has a wide but square frame and forward-facing hooves on the front and back. We also want to look at them as they move to make sure that they have a nice fluid motion and they're not stiff or post-legged. When evaluating initial musculature, we're going to make sure that the animal is solid in 3 different areas. First, we're going to look at their chest. We want to make sure that they have a nice inverted diamond, as you can see over here, and that chest floor is high, but also very wide. Secondly, we're going to look at their top line, or their back, which is also called their loin. We want to make sure that the muscle across their back covers the full width of their rib cage from the very top of their neck all the way to their dock. Thirdly, we're going to look at the rear end of that animal to see where the legs tie into the body and into each other. This area is called the twist. We want to make sure that the animal has a nice low twist and that they are able to, which is a good indicator that they're able to gain a lot more muscle in their hindquarters, which is definitely something we want to encourage. Now, knowing your animal is super important and gives you a good ability to start making a training schedule that's going to coach on their ability to win. Now, just as in the gym, just as in the barn, consistency is the key to success. So we want to make sure that the animals are gaining muscle by having a training schedule focused on endurance and muscle mass. To do this, we need to ensure that they have the proper nutrients in order to support all of that growth. That's why having an optimized feeding or feeding schedule is so important. We want to make sure that they have the correct crude protein amount, which is going to give them higher gains. Too much crude protein and they can have a poor gut health, while too little can lead to malnutrition. All right. Then the last thing we want to do is make sure that we have all those finishing touches put together just nice and neat. We're going to make sure that their leg wool is nice and washed, conditioned, and blow-dried, while they also have a close shear to make sure that they come into and out of the ring looking just perfect. We want to do this so that we hold the attention of the judges so that your animal is getting the maximum attention for all of the work that you've put into it. We also want to use dressings on your animal. These are supplements that go into their feed that help them make sure that they have a nice fill and are maintaining hydration throughout the entirety of your show day. Now, hopefully after all of your hard work, hopefully after all of their hard work, you and your project are getting to have a good celebration after a win. Now, there we go. Now that's not the only reason that showmen enter the ring and do what they do with such determination. They also will gain lots of good skills like time management, responsibility, grit, and leadership. And these are things that every single showman who enters the ring is going to come out with. So no matter where they go for their career, they're going to be able to take these skills with them and develop the workplace or leadership team that they're on. Thank you.
Questions for Lydia?
Sources.
How long have you been working with sheep?
I did showmanship for 2 years in high school. I did 3 different sheep. So I had 2 medium wools and 1 fine wool. So, yeah.
for livestock shows like that, I know that usually like with farms they breed certain animals to yield like a greater amount of I guess like food.
Yeah.
Is it harder to breed animals for the purpose of being shown off rather than for the purpose of yielding a massive amount of food?
That's a good question. So the definition of what we see as a good show silhouette has definitely changed over time. In the 1980s or something, cattle especially looked very different than what they do in today's show world. These animals are all what we call market competitors, so they're bred to have good quality market traits, but because of the feeding that we do to produce as much muscle on them as we can, they have a low fat content, which doesn't make them ideal yields for going into the meat industry. So most of these animals will go into the production not as commercial food, but as other meat species. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So in the slideshow, there's a bunch of pictures of like the animals' heads being held up, and
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
of course along the process, how much effort and like how much time goes into making sure those animals can like remain still during the showing process and actually
Yes.
present themselves well?
That is a really big portion of it. So here I have a couple of pictures of me working with my fine-wool Windsor, and this is like a 30-minute long process that we do every day where I just hold him in the driving stance. That's what this is, where he's pushing into my leg in order to show off all of the butt and leg muscles that he's got. So we don't usually put them in the headstands unless we're trying to blow dry or wash them out. We do that also with an elevated stand for training. Helps them need to engage their hindquarters and their loin. But most of that kind of work is done with me in the arena with them by hand. Does that touch on your question?
How competitive are these competitions usually?
Insanely competitive. So the genetic potential that you're looking for in the initial stages of assessing your animal is really makes or breaks your ability to compete well. And these animals can, as a 2-month-old lamb or farrow or whichever breed you're getting, can be anywhere from $400 to like $25,000. So people who have a high investment and want to get a lot out of it put in that high investment early on. I was under $5,000 for all of mine, but people will put in like 10 to 25 to get good stock.
How far have you gotten in these competitions?
I've gotten reserve champion at my barn show for like my district with my first medium wool, and then this guy right here actually got reserve at our county show, I want to say. So that was pretty cool, and I wasn't expecting to have much competing at majors because there's just too many other animals to go into that contest. But it was really fun, and I really enjoyed my time doing it.
Thank you, Lydia.